Welcome back, our lovely listeners, to another Listening for IELTS Reading Practice.
Oh, yeah.
Today, we're diving into a topic that's close to everyone's heart, family.
Yeah.
Specifically, we'll be exploring the unique bond between grandparents and their grandchildren.
Okay.
You know that saying, blood is thicker than water.
Right.
We'll be looking at a passage that really digs into the importance of family, using this proverb as a jumping-off point.
That proverb is interesting because it talks about how family relationships are the strongest and most important ones.
Exactly.
It suggests that family should come before anyone else.
And the passage we're looking at today starts off by presenting an interesting contrast.
Okay.
Let me read the first paragraph for you.
All right.
Blood is thicker than water. This means that family is more important than anyone else. Many young people, though, spend more time with their friends than with their family. They value their friends' opinions more and enjoy your company. When it's time to visit grandma or go to a cousin's wedding, teenagers often prefer to be left at home. But are they missing out?
Here, the writer is contrasting the idea that family is the most important with the reality that young people often prefer to spend time with their friends.
Right.
Value means to think something is important. So the writer is saying that young people think their friends' opinions are more important than their family's opinions, and they prefer to be with their friends, too.
Right, and then the writer poses this really thought-provoking question. Are they missing out?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if those teenagers are losing something valuable by prioritizing their friends over their families.
Yes, that's a good point.
Okay, let's move on to the next paragraph,
Right,
which
okay.
explores family structures around the world. It says, in Asia, the Middle East, South America, and Sub-Saharan Africa, over 40% of children live in families with other adults, such as aunts, uncles, and grandparents, in addition to their parents. In South Africa, it is almost 70%. On the other hand, in Europe, Australia, and North America, less than 25% of children live in extended families. Is the lack of close contact with relatives putting some children at a disadvantage?
So this paragraph gives us some interesting statistics about extended families.
Yes.
An extended family includes relatives like aunts, uncles, and grandparents, in addition to parents and children.
Right.
So in many parts of the world, especially in Asia, Africa, and South America, it's common for children to live with their extended family.
Yes, and notice how the writer uses the phrase, on the other hand, to signal a contrasting idea.
Yeah.
In Europe, Australia, North America, it's much less common for children to live in extended families.
Right. And then the writer asks another interesting question.
Okay.
Is the lack of close contact with relatives putting some children at a disadvantage? It makes you wonder if children who don't grow up around their extended family might be missing out on certain benefits?
It's a really good question. And that leads us perfectly into the next paragraph,
Okay.
which focuses specifically on the advantages of extended families. Ready for this one?
Absolutely.
Here it is. The people they live with have a great influence on the way children grow up. Those who live with their extended family have many advantages. They usually get lots of love and attention. Grandparents often have more time to read to children and play with them. As they are often retired, they are not always busy and stressed as many parents are. They have learned to be patient, and they have already handled most of the problems children and young people face.
Influence means to have an effect on someone.
Right.
So the people we live with affect the way we grow up. Retired means to stop working.
Yes.
Usually because you are old.
Right.
So grandparents are often retired and have more free time.
Yes, and because grandparents have more free time, they often have more time and patience to spend with their grandchildren. The writer emphasizes that grandparents have already handled most of the problems children and young people face, meaning they have experience with these problems and can offer guidance and support.
Exactly. They can help children learn and grow, and they can offer a different perspective than parents.
Okay, ready to move on to the next paragraph?
I am all ears.
All right, here it is. It is good for children to grow up to understand the needs of older people. They may become more caring and less selfish if they spend time helping their grandparents. Children learn about the past from grandparents' stories. Sometimes they feel closer to their grandparents than to their parents.
The writer is suggesting that spending time with grandparents can help children develop positive qualities like caring and empathy.
Okay.
Caring means to think about other people's feelings.
Right.
And selfish means to only think about yourself and not about others.
Yes.
So the writer is saying that children who spend time with their grandparents may learn to think about others more and be less focused on themselves.
Yes. And I love the idea of learning about the past through grandparent stories.
Yeah.
It's like having a living history book right in your own home.
It's a really special connection. The writer also notes that sometimes children feel closer to their grandparents than to their parents. That really highlights the unique bond that can exist between grandparents and grandchildren.
It really is.
Now, the next paragraph shifts focus a bit.
Yeah.
It talks about young adults and the challenges they face.
You're right. Let's see what it says. You're right. Let's see what it says. Young adults often feel that living alone will be exciting, but they forget that it can also be lonely. By remaining with the family during this stage of their lives, they can avoid this. They can also save money for their education and future.
This paragraph brings up an interesting point about loneliness.
Yeah.
Lonely means to feel sad because you are alone. Young adults often want to live alone because it's exciting and they feel independent, but the writer is saying they might feel lonely.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of living on your own, but it's important to remember that it can also be isolating. The writer suggests that by staying with family, young adults can avoid loneliness and also save money.
Exactly. Staying with family during this time can provide practical and emotional support. It can help young adults transition more smoothly into adulthood.
Okay, on to the next paragraph. This is where that Italian proverb comes in.
Okay.
Here it is. Young people whose grandparents live far away can gain some of these advantages by keeping in close contact by phone, email, letters, and visits. It is nice to know there is someone you can go to if you have a problem. As the Italian proverb says, se non sta andando bene ci muore la nonna. If things aren't going well, call your grandmother.
Gain means to get something positive. So even if young people don't live with their grandparents,
Right.
they can still get some of the advantages by staying in contact.
Yeah.
Close contact means to communicate regularly,
Yes.
like talking on the phone or visiting.
Right, and that Italian proverb is so charming.
Yeah.
It basically means that if you're facing a problem or feeling down,
Yeah.
you can always reach out to your grandmother for support and advice.
It's a lovely reminder that even when grandparents are far away, they're still there for their grandchildren.
This next paragraph kind of brings everything together. Friends are important to young people, but friends come and go. Your family is always on your side. Grandparents won't be there forever. Appreciate them while you can.
Here, the writer is contrasting the nature of friendships with family relationships.
Okay.
Come and go means that something is temporary, it doesn't last forever. Friendships can be like that. They change over time.
Yeah.
But family, especially
Yeah.
your parents and grandparents, are
Yeah.
always there for you.
It's a reminder that family provides a different kind of support, a more enduring and unconditional love.
Exactly. And the writer ends with a very important message.
Yep.
Grandparents won't be there forever. Appreciate them while you can. Appreciate means to be thankful for something, to value it. So the writer is reminding us that we should cherish the time we have with our grandparents and be grateful for their presence in our lives.
Such a powerful message. Now that we've read and discussed the entire passage, are you ready to tackle the tasks?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, task 1 is a vocabulary matching exercise.
Okay.
It says, match the words from the text on the left with their meanings on the right. We'll go through each word and its definition carefully. First word, value.
We already talked about value. It means to believe something is important.
Right, so it would match with definition H, believe something is important.
Exactly.
Next word, influence.
Influence means to have an effect on someone or something.
So it would match with definition G, have an
Yes.
effect on.
Yes, that's correct.
Next up, stressed.
Stressed means to feel worried and not able to relax.
So the correct definition is A, worried, not able to relax.
Right.
Next, we have handled.
Handled means to have dealt with something or to have experience with it.
So it matches with definition B, dealt with, had experience of.
Exactly.
On to selfish.
Selfish means to only care about yourself and not other people.
So it would match with definition F, carry only about yourself and not other people.
That's right.
Next up, gain.
Gain means to get something positive.
So the matching definition is C, get something positive.
Yes.
Now we have proverb.
A proverb is a well-known phrase that gives advice or expresses a truth about life.
So it matches with definition E, a well-known phrase giving advice.
Okay.
And lastly, we have appreciate,
Appreciate means to be grateful for something.
which means the definition is D, be grateful for.
Yes, that's right. We have now matched all the vocabulary words with their definitions.
Great job.
Mhm.
Now let's move on to task 2, which focuses on comprehension.
All right.
The instructions say, answer these questions. Choose no more than 2 words and/or a number from the passage for each answer.
Remember, we need to find the answers directly from the passage.
It's exactly. Question 1. What percentage of children in South Africa live with their extended family?
The passage says in South Africa, it is almost 70%. So the answer is 70%.
That's right. Question 2. What helps children and extended families learn about the past?
The passage mentions that children learn about the past from grandparents' stories. So the answer is grandparents' stories.
Perfect. Question 3. What negative word can describe how it sometimes feels to live alone?
The passage says that young adults often feel that living alone will be exciting, but they forget that it can also be lonely. So the answer is lonely.
Excellent. And finally, question 4. According to the Italian proverb, who should you phone when you have a problem?
The Italian proverb says, if things aren't going well, call your grandmother. So the answer is your grandmother.
I got it. We've successfully answered all the comprehension questions. Now, how about we recap all the key vocabulary from the passage?
That sounds like a great idea. Let's refresh our memories.
Okay, let's start with blood is thicker than water. This proverb means that family bonds are the strongest and most important relationships in our lives.
Next, we have family is more important than anyone else. This tells us that we should prioritize our families.
Right, and then we have missing out. This phrase means that someone is losing the chance to have something good or to experience something enjoyable.
Now let's talk about extended family. This refers to family members like grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, in addition to parents and children.
And putting some children at a disadvantage means that some children are not in a good position compared to others.
Exactly. Moving on, we have influence. This means to have an effect on someone or something.
Next up, get lots of love and attention. This simply means to receive a lot of love and care.
Now let's talk about retired. This describes people who have stopped working.
Right. Moving on to become more caring and less selfish. This phrase suggests that someone starts to think more about others and less about themselves.
Next, we have selfish. This describes someone who only thinks about themselves.
Okay, what about exciting but also lonely? This phrase expresses the mixed feeling of being happy and sad at the same time.
Next, we have lonely. This describes the feeling of being sad because you are alone.
Now let's look at keep in close contact. This means to stay in touch with someone regularly.
Call your grandmother is a proverb that suggests asking your grandmother for help when you have problems.
Right. Then we have friends come and go, which means that friendships can end while family relationships are usually permanent.
Next up, we have appreciate. This means to be thankful for something.
And lastly, we have grandparents won't be there forever. This reminds us that we should value our time with our grandparents.
That was a really helpful recap of all the important vocabulary.
It was. And I think this whole discussion about the importance of family has been incredibly insightful.
I agree. It's a topic that resonates with everyone.
So true. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive for today.
Thank you for joining us, listeners. We hope you've gained some valuable insights into the importance of family, particularly the unique bond between grandparents and grandchildren.
And remember, no matter where you are in the world or what your family structure looks like, the love and support of family can make all the difference. Until next time, keep those family connections strong.